Hello again, and welcome back to the SWARP podcast, where aging, wellness, and wisdom intersect. I am Maggie Lazar, your host, and I am thrilled that you are here today. Once again, if you are a returning listener, I welcome you back. If this is your first time, I welcome you. In this space, we just want to sit, slow down, and think about life, about our aging, which is a privilege, how well we can live, and also using wisdom to move through this life, this tercera edad, this new time in our life, which could be the end, we don't know, but we are forever mindful of that we have more years behind us than we have in front of us, right? So it makes you a bit reflective of how have I lived my life, the last 6 decades of my life. And when I look back, how I grew up, where I grew up, the struggles, the path that I have followed, it has been very uneven, like yours has. It's got ups, it's got downs, it got joy, it's got pain and tears and all of it. And sis, sir, I used to I read this one time that says nobody leaves this life unscathed, right? That means no one is going to live through this life without having experienced pain, but joy as well. So we choose to focus on what we choose to focus on, right? All right, but today is about listening to one other creator, a woman younger than I that I admire. I like the way she thinks. And she was talking today about being ready for the inevitable, being the D word, that makes people feel uncomfortable. Well, someone else said there are only two sure things in life, death and taxes. I think it's very apropos. She was talking about the fact that I think in the last couple of weeks, there were a couple of celebrities who had died, and then they had to start a GoFundMe to handle his, I guess, funeral and also care for his family. And I think personally, if I were a man, I would feel very disturbed and worried that if I were to die, that we would have to do a GoFundMe for you to bury me and take care of my family, my children. You know how many times we've heard financial planners tell a man, a young man, to have a good life insurance policy, if you have children. I wasn't, a man, and I made sure I had enough insurance that if I were to die, right? That my mortgage would be paid off, that you could, and I said, you don't have to bury me anything fancy, just do a little cremation, put me somewhere and then take care of the people who are left. So I personally feel it's irresponsible of someone to not take care of some things. Now, if you're 17, 18, you haven't had time to do that. But if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and especially if you're a man with families and children, come on. So she was talking about how not to have to depend on the GoFundMe for you to be buried. So hopefully in this stage, in the tercera edad, when I had my life insurance policy, when my kids got grown and they were on their own, I did cancel that policy. I did keep like a simple life insurance policy, at least to make sure the mortgage, my house is paid for, that if I had any debt, because you don't want your children to curse you after you go because you're living there with a pile of debt. That's a no bueno. No. So we here in this stage of life have to be really cognizant of our responsibility. Just the fact that we've moved abroad, thinking that we don't want our kids to have to be burdened with caring for us. Well, that part of it includes also your exit, right? So that's why a lot of us have bought into, a cremation policy or burial policy so that, they dispose of you, they dress you up. You don't have to dress me myself. Just put me down somewhere. I can turn into fertilizer. So sis, think carefully. Now, not all of you listening are at my age, but if you have family members, you have kids, an insurance policy that would cover you and your loved ones after your demise is a must. It's the responsible thing to do. And if you are in this tercera edad where we are, let's make sure that we take care of things after we're gone. Let's not have people talk about us, influencers talk about us. And then that GoFundMe thing, I've always been a bit leery of it because, is all the money really going to the person's family? I don't know. And I don't pretend to know how it works, but I just think it's kind of sets not a very positive it doesn't bode well for the person who has exited if they had no plans in place. All right. So go out there today, be a responsible human. I always say be a good human, but you can be a responsible human right now because taking care of yourself, of your death, your burial, that's your responsibility as well. Don't leave it up to the kids. Don't see that in the church. I used to be in a church where they had to ask for donation to bury a sister or brother. Ooh, no bueno. All right, sis, you know where I'm going with that. So I hope you have a wonderful day. The simple things in life I force you to think about. All right. So I will talk to you tomorrow. God loves you. You know I love you. I hope you do that. You know that. Au revoir, à la prochaine. Bye.